Very exciting day, like really cool energy today. Like so much energy that I completely knocked my little microphone like off the stand, just like gone. And I think the reason is we're coming off the last hour, and one of the things we ended the last hour with, and Tanis is going to appreciate this, is we ended the last hour with Tiana talking about her personal message about truth telling, that it's the time to speak your truth, that it's the time to honor people who are out in the world before they die. Like, why are we waiting till people pass on before we acknowledge who they are? But I want to tell you, Transformation Talk Radio and Transformation Radio, soon to be renamed the Transformation Network, it was built along with the Dr. Pat Show 16 years ago on the very foundation of honoring people and bringing people forward who would not otherwise have an opportunity to connect with all of you. But part of that for us along the way was exactly what Tanis McRae is going to talk about today. Because if you don't know anything about a field you're about to get in and pay money to be in, right? As opposed to like a job where you get paid. 16 years ago, when I started to pull out a credit card and buy airtime, first time on the internet in 2003, the only thing I could tell people when they said to me, you just spent $10,000 for 1 hour on an internet network, the internet was just invented. That's what they would say. And I said, I don't know. I just have a gut feeling about this. And then I got behind a mic and my gut feeling turned into something more. So today, we're going to talk about this, about trusting your intuition. And joining me to do that is most amazing person who knows a lot about this, right?
Yes.
Tanis McRae. Why? Because when you step in and you say, I am going to be out in the world, I'm going to be there to help other people on their personal healing journey, I'm going to help with the evolution of consciousness self, authenticity, I'm going to come out there, I'm going to teach, I'm going to speak, I'm going to mentor, I'm going to talk about self-empowerment, how we become advocates for the importance of emotional health and the energy of that. That's what she said yes to. But if you say yes to that and you think you're going to do that with the logical, rational side of action, boy, it's going to be a long, long journey. Today, trust your intuition. We were talking about it before this show, about what we're about to launch. And I'm telling you, when you're on the verge of launching something which not very many people understand, fear steps in. But one, how do you trust that thing you have inside of you that said to you, don't go down Route 99 today, take I-5? What is that? Tanis, it's great to have you.
Thanks, Dr. Pat. I'm really happy to be here and talking about something absolutely unexplainable, right? It's unexplainable. I always say to people, everyone is having emotions, but can you have surgery on your emotions? No. You can't have surgery on your emotions. They're not tangible, but you know you have them. You know they're there. And you know you trust them, or you don't trust them, because lots of people don't trust their emotions. But the same goes for intuition. It's not tangible. You can't use your logical mind to access it. In fact, the part of the brain you need to access your intuition is the one you used as a child to pretend. So when you were pretending and imagining and creating, and you had all your imaginary friends and you thought about this and you had castles in the air, that's your intuition. And so we learned very early on not to trust it because people said, you know, that you're just pretending.
That's right. That
Right.
I'm telling you that was so much a part of my childhood that I was in therapy at age 8 with Dr. Jacoby,
Oh,
right? But fast forward to what we're talking about. We're really talking about this field, right?
yes.
This, I mean, it's not that we're not tapping into something because we
Exactly.
are,
Yeah.
but it's something we're tapping into that for so many people, Tanis, they've been meant they've been literally taught or conditioned to feel shame and guilt and
Yep.
lack and limitation around this. And I'm telling you, we got to clean that up.
Exactly. And we've been told it isn't real.
That's right.
You're pretending. And so, I'm like, wow. I remember I had an incredible, like you, an imaginary world. I mean, I was never alone. And I remember the moment, I was about 13, and I remember thinking, oh, I can't do this anymore. I'm all grown up. And I effectively kind of shut off my intuition. And I know so many people do that because there's no trust, right? People,
Right.
the external world has told you can't trust this. It's not real. School is, learning is real. Facts are real. Logic is real. And so we kind of drift away from it and we lose that sort of wonder and awe. So I questioned that. You know what? I started questioning that when I was an adult. I mean, I taught grade 1, so I got to play in my I got to use my play and my pretend and imagination in a different way as being a teacher. And believe you me, grade 1s love a teacher who is fun and playful. And so that was a really great way to keep that alive in me. But what happened when I went into the world of assisting and serving and healing myself and then assisting others in that process was I realized, this is an energy field. That's what we are. If you've ever seen a bird that's alive and a bird that's dead, one is going to get up and fly away and the other one isn't. But they can have the same physical body. How come one's flying away and one isn't? Even though they look the same. And the reason is the energy field. That field that we are. So we are energy. We are pure light. We are an agglomerate of all the experiences we've had energetically. And so that's the field. And then everyone else has that field. And so we are experiencing not only our own field of energy, but other people's fields of energy. And to me, after all these years doing this, Me Too since 2004, is I trust the energy. It actually has more substance to me now than often people's words, because often, that's coming from the mind. It's coming from their pain. It's coming from their trauma. It's coming from their facade. It's coming from their fear. It's coming from a lot of different places. But the energy is still pretty clear about once you start to really pay attention. What is that person's energy? And everyone feels it. I don't think there's one person in the world who doesn't get a hunch, who doesn't have a feeling about someone, or, you know what I mean? That's the field I'm talking about.
Yeah. And what I love about this is at different points in time in one's life, right, you are going to have to decide if you're willing to show up as you, as truly you.
Right.
And I think this has got to be one of our greatest challenges and opportunities, because every one of us has that juice inside of us. We've got that thing inside that is like its own guidance system. Yes. But for whatever reason, we just don't quite get it going. So what affects the energy field? What is it that gets in the way? I know for me, I have one specific thing going on right now, and I could tell you what's getting in the way is mostly in the area of doubt. And that's my thing. Right. Anything, if I want to clog up the works on my intuition, the thing that does it quickly for me, quicker than anything else, is doubt. And I don't know if it's the same for everyone, but don't we have to clear this out?
Yes. And for me, doubt, yes, but mine comes really from comparing myself to others. As soon as I compare myself to something else, boom, doubt comes in. And so, for me, it's this beautiful transparency and the truth you're talking about. And I think the reason why it's such an interesting journey is because we really actually don't know who we are. we tend to be, and I just talked about this on Friday on my show. I talked about the power of perception and how our thoughts, ideas, beliefs, learnings, logic, they actually define who we are. And so when we start this journey of who am I really, we actually have to question who we are. And that's a scary thing. So without my opinion, who am I? Without that idea or that belief or that system, who am I? And that can be scary. I know lots of people have said to me, I've wanted to come and see you for years, but I was scared. I was scared I'd have to give up me.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you will, but you're going to give up the aspects of yourself that, like you're saying, stand between you and your results, stand between you and what you want, stand between you and what you know yourself to be. And so it becomes an exploration. I always call it an uncovery, not a discovery, because it's already there. You know, like when the paleontologists go digging for fossils, they don't show up because they were digging. They show up because they were already there. So the idea is you already are this. It's just hidden in your experiences of density. So trauma, doubts, right? Yeah. Your belief systems, if they're not serving you anymore. Fear is a big player in this game.
Yeah, it is. And you know, here's what we're really doing today. First of all, for people just tuning in, thrilled to have all of you get to know Tanis McRae the way I've gotten to know her. And you're going to find out about her, about her fabulous show, all of the above. But today, one of the things that is so important to honor in our own personal journey and evolution is the potential of what she is calling, and most people understand as, that sixth sense. But what if you could access this? What if it became your go-to instead of your no-to, right? Mm-hmm. What if this was the deal? What would you do with that if you knew with it you could not fail? When we come back, we're going to dig deep into it, and I want to know what Tanis is doing to help people all over the world, how she's teaching this, what she's doing, and what the fast track is, because if you're like me, 2020 is the year of good and plenty, and we are on it. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Yeah. Tanis McRae. Wait. You got to hear about her radio show, but also we're going to tell you about a workshop she's doing. Want you to know about that. First of all, how do people find out about you? Website, social media, all of the above, because they're going to want to know how to sign up for Trust Your Intuition, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Yep. And then you have another course too. Tell folks all about that.
Okay. So yeah, in the end of March, or mid-March, I will be offering an online course. So you can do it in your jammies if you want. You can do it from where you're living. It's called Trust Your Intuition. And it is really about what we're talking today. It's about, how do I foster, what do I actually do on all levels to foster my intuition, to really flex my intuition muscles, to start to live and honor and trust that sixth sense, because we were taught not to trust it. We're going to go through a process of actually learning to trust it. And the thing is, like I said before, it's already there. This is not something you're going to acquire. You're not going to learn to get an intuition, like go to the store and buy one. No. You have an innate, amazing ability, intuitive ability. And all we're going to do is uncover it, because it's already there. We're going to just keep moving things away until you feel your intuition and you start to trust it. Your intuition is very quiet. It just whispers. Your mind is very loud. It likes to talk and talk and talk and talk. So you have to quiet the mind. That's one of the very first things. Focus the mind. Quiet it, focus it. And then what happens is the intuition starts to get louder. And that's what this course is going to cover. And you can look for that on my website, www.tanismcrae.com. So it's the same as my name. You can also do Talking to Tanis, which is my transformation talk radio show, talkingtotanis.com, and that will get you there. And it's all done through an online studio. Super duper easy. I only take 6 or 8 people because I really want to do hands-on. So I'm really a hands-on teacher in the sense that I connect with you between the sessions. I listen when you talk to me in between them. It's a very, very intimate, if you will, setting so that we can really make the difference. We can get to where you want to go in 4 weeks, which is the fast track, because most of us work on our intuition for years and years and years, trusting it. But in reality, I have some really simple, amazing day-to-day things that allow you to bring that right to where you are now. It's not an intellectual exercise.
Wow.
It's an intuitive exercise. So we
Wow.
prepare the body.
Well, and this is part of, what I was saying before we went to break, and what we were talking about during the break, is that somewhere along the way, we have forgotten that we have this ability. So let's talk about when we reference the sixth sense, what are we referencing here? Because people believe it's like one thing, but it's multidimensional, isn't it?
It's multidimensional. It is a knowing. It's an inner knowing. It's like walking out of your house and going, oh, did I turn the stove off? That's intuition. I mean, it sounds like, it's just, but really there's thoughts coming through. You go back, you check you didn't. Or you go back, you check you did, and you're like, okay, no, that's all right. But that's the first trust exercise. That's the first trust exercise. I'm listening to that little voice that's not as loud as my mind. And I'll never forget, I had an opportunity for this. I was walking into the garage, and my son's pedal bike was sitting on the side of the house in the garage. And I thought, I should have locked that up. It was just a fleeting thought, but I was in a hurry, got in my car, drove away, came back. It had been stolen out of the garage. And that was a trust exercise.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I went, why did I ignore that? It told me straight up what was going on. And so I started to pay attention. Consistency. This is really important. Consistently, just give it some of your attention. Because when you give it your attention, you start to trust it.
Wow. Here's the thing that I hope that people take away from today. One of the things, once upon a time when we were in a space where our days were very different than they are now. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean we weren't working or we weren't doing things, right? But it was from a structure in our days, like structurally, our days were very different. Mm-hmm. We didn't have a digital screen to look at. We didn't have to worry about texting into a radio show or texting in general, right? Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, texting is so distracting at the workplace that many companies, and we're actually one of them, we ask people that work with us to please put your phone away because it is such an addiction, right? To really have something like this where people can send you messages 24/7. And, the research is now showing that there is no such thing really as multitasking. You can only really do one thing at a time. And yet, in the sense, that doesn't mean you can't multi-process. And I think what we're looking at for this is how do we use this every day? Because we are going to continue to integrate technology earlier and earlier in life. You know this if you teach young folk. Earlier and earlier in life. And I'm concerned that we're not going to remember this, and we're not going to learn how to optimize it.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that I believe is a positive, if you want, if we want to look at a positive for the phones, is we're actually the dinosaur of interconnectedness. Yes. I actually believe this is that our cell phones are the dinosaur of telepathy, because our children now actually have information accessible to them immediately. It's not a slow plotting process. And so they actually free up some space if they're not addicted, because this is different. But you start to free up some space to do something other than survive, right? So now we have to remember we're going to get used to this. This is the beginning of what's next for humanity. And so my children have instant access to the world. I did not have instant access to the world. That was a slow plotting process. I colored more maps in my day than you can imagine. And now there's an instantaneous connection. And that's energetically very exciting.
When we take a look at this and we look at the many ways that we can, my language, plug in.
Yep.
What have you discovered teaching people, creating workshops? What have you discovered the quickest way to get from not using intuition to using intuition? How many layers do we have to remove if in fact that's true, we have to remove them?
It's really simple. There is a simple, absolute and it's two things, but they're the same thing. Relaxation and pausing. So I have a really great teacher right now, and he talks about the power of pausing. And he says, don't pause at the end of the task, pause in the middle. He said, what happens is people are not stopping the distraction. So he said, really interrupt your distraction. So interrupt it with a pause. So what I teach, breath. Take 3 conscious breaths. We take 70,000 breaths a day. None of them usually are conscious. But if we take 3 conscious breaths in a row while we're pausing, you'll reset your whole nervous system. Your mind quiets, your body expands, and you are in your intuition. So that is the simplest thing. Now, most people don't relax, they recover. So lots of people are recovering in their body. So they get home and they quote unquote relax, but in reality, they're not relaxing, they're recovering. They're recovering from the amount of stress they put in on their body and their mind. Mm-hmm. And that's not relaxation. Relaxation happens after the recovery. So many people actually never get to the relaxation, which is one of the biggest impediments to your intuition. You are in a stressed state. And so the body is tense, the mind is tense, everything is tense. There is a hurry, there's a distraction. And remember, your intuition's quiet.
Yeah.
It's quiet. It needs a moment. It needs a pause. It just needs you to go.
I love hitting the pause button. I love doing that. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk with Tanis. And what we're going to be talking about is, look, what do we need to learn? How do we learn it? And then the favorite thing that I love to talk about, when you trust your intuition, how do you try that out, right? You know, is it like, man, I'm going to go buy a new car. Let me sit in the seat, drive it around for a while. Or is it something different? Trusting your intuition also means you get to have some fun sometimes with this. We're going to take a short break and we're going to have some fun when we come back with Tanis McRae. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. We're talking about trusting your intuition. Special guest Tanis McRae joining me here today. We're going to talk about what I consider it to be the end game. What is the point of intuition? Well, if you are somebody that wants to use your intuition for a career, then certainly that has a certain direction. But other than that, why was intuition given to us? What is really the end game of this? And what does Tanis do to help people not just honor it once in a while, but get it into use every day of your life? And today we're going to talk about how to get that started, how to play with it, and all of the above. Tanis, let's talk about this. You teach workshops, and please make sure we mention the website and how to sign up. Mm-hmm. But there's a reason for teaching this. Can you talk about that for a little bit?
Well, I believe it's our future. I mean, I think most high functioning, successful people have a sharp intuition. I think the five senses, that we've learned since grade school, those are about surviving. But the sixth sense is about thriving. It's about upping our game. It's about going into the sort of the energetic of why are we here? Did we just come here to just survive? Or did we come here to thrive? Did we come here to grow, evolve, expand? And our intuition is the key to thriving. Because if we're only concerned with surviving, intuition will be actually quite deadened, and you will doubt it every time. But when you are on a track to thrive, to live an authentic, lovely, yummy, fun life, intuition is going to play a part. And it's what often people call risk. Is often what people call risk, because we use a lot of emotional caution in survival, right? We use a lot of physical caution in survival. But when we transcend that and we're like, okay, I know I got this idea and I got excited until my mind's like, well, you sure? You sure you can do that? Well, and then you tell it to someone and they're like, oh, that's going to cost you a lot of money. And all of a sudden you start to doubt. And that's the killer of your intuition. That's the oppressor of your intuition, is that bubbly kind of excited feeling when it came into your notion. Trust Your Intuition workshop that I do literally came from a conversation with somebody who said to me, well, how do you trust your intuition? A whole course was born in that moment. If I had said, oh, well, I can't teach that, I don't know what I'm talking about, that course would not exist. But somebody said those words to me, and I've heard those words a million times, but they said it to me in a moment where I'm like, I trust mine. I trust mine so much now, I forget what it's like to not to trust it.
Yeah.
Because I have consistently played with it. Play. Curiosity and play, my favorite thing, wrapped up with the word willingness. My favorite word right now is willingness. I am willing to try this. I'm willing to play with it. I'm willing to have the experience, not of my doubt, but of my excitement, of my risk. And when you start to let that intuition be a big part of your everyday, just those pauses, that quiet, that relaxation, everything, it starts to come to the forefront. Because again, you already have it.
Yeah. And one of the things that I talked about earlier, and I want to, get back to it now, is that almost every association with intuition for me has a direct action that followed it, right? Mm-hmm. Either immediately or sometime in the future.
That's right.
And sometimes it's been random. And I'd love for you to talk about this. And what I mean is sometimes it's a random intuition idea or hit, random, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm driving along and there you go. But can't we also use intuition directively? Absolutely. Like in the moment when you need to get an insight about something. Can you talk about that? Because I don't know that people kind of put that together. It's like, yeah, if I'm driving along and I get an intuitive hit, that's great. But how do I directively use intuition specifically in life?
I would say that is the practice of meditation. The practice of slowing down, like we talked about before, pausing. Myself, I actually use my intuition as a guide. So I wrote a book called Talking to Myself. And what that book is actually saying is I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to my intuition. I'm talking to that bigger, expanded version of myself that has way more knowledge than my limited experience is giving me. I have access to intuitive knowledge. And so I actually write the question down. I go into a relaxed state. I breathe and I start writing. And you know what? The answer to that question comes. And that's trust again.
Right.
The first few times I did that, gobbledygook. I got gobbledygook. But again, I trusted this is a process, that it's not going to be infallible, because it's ephemeral. It's not tangible. We can't have surgery on this. It's not like your body. It's not even like your sense of smell. Do you know what I mean? Your sense of smell is pretty definable, but this is less definable, and it's going to be different for every person. So I always say, I'm not teaching you about intuition. I want you to grow your intuition, because your intuition is going to look different than my intuition. And so how you get it, how you trust it, what you do with it, the action you take. And I love that, the action you take, because sometimes you'll get intuition like, oh, I forgot to turn off the stove, and you go and the stove's turned off. But you took an action. And that grounds it into your reality. That makes it tangible. So the intuition is intangible. The action is tangible. And that's the important process, taking something from the intangible to the tangible.
And folks really wonder and ask about, well, can I only use it on, we have this conversation with us. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Well, I could kind of use it on this, but what about the big things? Does intuition work on the big things? And I think it's worth talking about this, because I don't know that we understand the potential of intuition. You know what I mean?
I do. And it's the big things. So what are we talking about? Big things, big purchases, big life decisions, careers. I can't imagine that not being a part of it. Maybe you don't even know it's a part of it, but I'll tell you, when you go to make a big life decision, you're pulling on everything you know to make that decision. And how you make that decision is important. And that's why building your intuition in the small things, like did I turn off the stove, is going to serve you in those big ones, because it's a building of trust and respect for your system, and a knowledgeable idea. How does my intuition occur to me? Some people see pictures, some people get a voice, some people get a feeling in their body. There's as many people as there are different ways to access and build and understand your intuition, because there's 7 billion people in the world. There's 7 billion different ways. But I know that really pausing, like you said, stop, relax, pause, without the distractions, give yourself some time without the distractions, and build your trust in it. Then when you come to the big decisions, that's an innate part of it. That is you just don't even question it. That is a part of it. And I know I have lots of people who say, I want you to prove to me that you're intuitive, because I use the word intuitive teacher. It was a very important word for me to put in my personification of what I do and what I am. And the reason why is because I want you to know I'm going to have access to information about you that you didn't tell me. That's intuition. And I said, but you know it. So if you know it, then it's accessible to me. And that's kind of blows people's minds. And they're like, well, can you prove it? And I always say, no, you prove it. You prove it to you. I don't need to prove this to you, but I want you to prove this to you. I want you to prove to you your intuition is accurate and that you can trust it, rather than worry about whether mine's accurate. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, because I think that there are some things that when I'm asked to explain certain things, generally there is an answer that people want me to give. But on the other hand, there isn't. And, there is this thing that happens across the board with all of us here as team members. And one of the things is we have a sense of what we're to create, who are the people to bring forward to invite, how do we connect with people that we think have a message and goes out. And people always ask us, did you find me through buying a list? Or, there's just a whole range of questions. And when we explain the way we do this, there are a couple things that happen. One is they ask us, well, what if you picked the wrong name for your network, Pat? Like we literally yesterday made a decision what we're going to call the network as we build out our channels this year, and our technology is just about finished. We're actually going to start building websites for them now. And, you know, I walked into Jessica's office and I said, you know, we were going to call it TTR. And I said, but TTR is Transformation Talk Radio, and it represented a form of what we do that was really relevant 10 years ago when we started. But now what we're building is a community and connecting people. And, you know, radio is one form of it, podcasting, video, Facebook Live, some other things we're doing. And I said, you know, we are the transformationnetwork.com. That's us. That's the way we're out in the world. And I said, I woke up in the middle of the night and I heard TTN. It's TTN. So when we launch a wealth channel, it'll be TTN Wealth. Or let's say a women's channel. Our women's channel is TTN Women. Yes. And so that was a 30-second conversation that preceded purchasing all the domain names. Exactly. Now, when you go and you say, I just spent $400 on domain names, people look at you like you're out of your mind. But it's more than that. And if you don't trust it and you don't go and take an action to support your dream or your vision, somebody else will. And I think that's important to help people understand that, yeah, sometimes maybe you won't make the right decision, but most of the time you will. How do we get people to literally take action that demonstrates the trust?
And again, it's that consistent building of the trust. I mean, don't use your intuition to get 400 domain names.
No, I'm not saying to do that. No, right.
But when you are doing it every day, when you're doing it you're walking down your hallway, or you're saying, oh, did I lock up my son's bike?
Yeah.
That's the part that builds your trust. You know, also your intuition is quite forgiving. It's quite forgiving. It will bring it again and again and again. What's so beautiful is the universe is like, oh, you didn't get it the first time? Not a problem. This is like the dance of the hokey pokey. It'll come around again. And so you can start to use your life. This is my main teaching. Use your life to grow and evolve. And I love this story because Jessica said the exact same thing to me when you reached out to me. And I said, well, how did you find me? And she goes, you know, I can't tell you. And I said, perfect. I trust you. As soon as she said that.
I know.
I said to her, I know then this is in alignment. And the reason it's in alignment is because she said, I can't tell you how I found you. And I said, oh, that is my favorite. I trust you guys to the nth degree now because you came to me through intuition. And I trust that so deeply. And I trust it in where it's coming toward me and in me. But that's a journey for me. It didn't happen overnight. Yeah. It happened in every of those little moments when I walked out of the house, when I checked in on my teenagers energetically, which I do. I don't know that they knew it at the time, but I would check. And intuitively, I would check on their energy and just make sure they're okay out there in the world. And I learned to trust it. In fact, I don't know if that my youngest son, Aiden, will appreciate this, but when he would be a little bit late, you know, he's in his 17, 18-year-old, and he'd be a little late. And I'd think, you should come home. You should come home now. It's getting late. And 20 minutes, he would be driving into the driveway. And he, do you know what I mean? I don't know that he'd appreciate that I was sort of managing him energetically, but I trusted that. I trusted what the feeling was. And sometimes I said that and I would hear him reply to me, not tonight. I'll be there when I can, da, da, da. And I trusted that too. Now, again, this is not the first rodeo. You need to build that trust in yourself because it's your intuition. You're going to be in contact with it. You're going to be in communication with it. You have to trust it implicitly. And how you do that will be up to you. And what it looks like is up to you.
I want to ask you about this because I'm sure you teach it in your workshop. people think of intuition sometimes as one event. For example, wow, I just got this intuitive thought and there it is. What's your experience of having multiple intuitive, I call them intuitive hits. And the reason I say this is I don't hear voices. I see things. And I tell this story a lot. You know, the idea to create the network came from me driving across I-90 one day, and my entire windshield lit up with all of the channels and the icon, the whole thing. It just lit up, right? And I wanted to ask you about this because sometimes people might get a series of things, right? Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. And what's important there is to allow that to go to its natural end. So don't throw doubt and worry and fear and stuff in there right away. I was working with a 10-year-old who got a lot of premonitions, and they were scaring him. So these intuitive hits can be disruptive, right? Yeah. And so I said to him, just because you have an intuitive hit or a premonition, it doesn't mean you have any responsibility to do anything about it unless you want to. If there's excitement, like you probably got excited.
Yeah.
You were like, hey, this is amazing. And so you got excited. I said, start to pay attention to what your body does in the intuitive hit. If it's always going into fear, maybe you need to sit down. Maybe you need to know what's in the way. Why does my intuition elicit fear? That's what we would do in the workshop. If somebody is having a lot of fear around their intuitive hits, we would work on why. Why have you learned to suppress and oppress your intuition? And so I will directly address trauma. It's always trauma, or a learned behavior or an external belief that's in the way. And so I would directly target that with somebody. And then on the other side of that is more trust for that intuition, and more trust that you're not going crazy. Because boy, have I heard that a lot.
Oh yeah.
I'm getting all of these intuitive hits. Am I going crazy? Yep. I said, no, you opened the gate. You opened the gate. You're saying, the minute you declare to yourself, I'm going to trust my intuition, you have opened the gate, and you will start to do it. The whole energy field is waiting for you to just declare, I want to trust this. And so you will start to get experiences. That's what I say to people taking the workshop. I don't teach this workshop. Your life teaches the workshop. I'm just your guide. I'll help reorient you.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the workshop if we could. I know we've got a couple of minutes left. I mean, everything that you're sharing today and talking about, you've been able to transfer this knowledge to people through your workshops and events. Yes. I would love for you to talk a little bit about them and how people can register.
You can go right to my website, which is www.tanismcrae.com. There's a part there called Wisdom, and you can read about it first. You can register or read about it. Just click register. It's going to take you to my online studio. It's free to join my online studio. You don't have to purchase anything, but you join the studio and then you'll see my workshops up. Right now, I'm in the middle of one called Sensitivity is a Superpower. That's all about dealing with your emotions and not being afraid of other people's emotions. Trust Your Intuition starts mid-March. So you can click on that, again, read, and then decide. Simple, buy it there, and you are registered. And then I have one coming up at the end of April, which is called Walking Through Shadow. And that's all about being in fear without being afraid. So it's about your willingness to actually walk into your trauma together with the group and me, and not be afraid to deal with the things that are standing in the way of your intuition, are standing in the way of thriving, which is what intuition is to me. It is thriving, not just surviving, but thriving.
I love it. Tanis, a couple things. I want to thank you for today, and I would love for you to please give out your information on where people can find out more about you at your radio show as well. And then I would love to ask you what your personal message is for today.
My personal message is always, if you don't decide who you are in the experience will decide who you are. So be the chooser of you. Be the chooser of your experience. Show up, light up, have fun.
I love fun.
Me too. That's mine. Everyone will say. Tanis is lots of fun.
Let's make sure people have your website and how to find you.
Again, www.tanismcrae.com. And you can look on my Transformation Talk radio page. You'll find the links for that. Also, Facebook, Tanis McRae, The Healing Eye is the name of my business. So you'll find that there. You'll find links to all of the shows, all of my wisdom blogs, all of my book, everything. That's this Tanis Central.
I love it. Tanis Central. Talk with Tanis, everybody. Thank you so very much for today. Thank you for reminding all of us of this beautiful innate ability we have and how we can live our lives this way and how important trust is in the process. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you.
I want to thank all of you for tuning us in, turning us on. Thank you for watching us on Facebook. Pretty soon, we're going to have a completely new video interface. Really cool things coming on for all of you and a way for you all to engage. Lots of cool things. 2020, amazing year. And you all are amazing audience. We'll see you next time.